Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee, powered by Flurry Sports. It can be tough to win a fantasy league on your own, but at FFBC, we will work together to bring home the hardware. Hosted by Zach Bruner and the rest of the Flurry Sports crew, we will give top-level analysis, answer your questions, and, well, go off on other tangents.
That was after I tried to get ChatGPT to admit that 9/11 was an inside job, but it stood firm. It gave quite a few solid points that it was true.
Welcome to Fantasy Football by Committee. The show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Hello. Welcome back to Fantasy Football by Committee. If you are watching live, then welcome to the final week of the NFL preseason. I feel like football, real football that is right around the corner, which is great. Obviously, high school football has begun. College football starting right now as well. So I think the wait is finally over. And I also think that draft season then for fantasy football will start officially next week. Obviously, we've already had a bunch of drafts go down. You and I, Trevor, have done some, big drafts, slow drafts. But I feel like the most drafts will start obviously next week, and that's why we are here to keep chugging away on this draft strategy series. Today we are going to be drafting a winning team around Saquon Barkley. Again, as always, PPR scoring 12 team, and we are going to assume Saquon Barkley goes at pick number 8. That is where his ADP is according to fantasy data. If you look at Sleeper Fantasy's ADP, and we will be doing a live mock draft over on Sleeper as well, his ADP there is 10th. So you truly could get him at the turn. If you are in a 10-team league, you could go Saquon and then come right back around with another top-tier player. We will challenge ourselves a little bit, though, and pick at number 8. But before we get started, Trevor, how you doing? How you feeling about, there's a lot of fantasy news today as well. Anything specific that you are, that's on your mind?
I think it's kind of what everybody's thinking about right now. Marvin Mims' stock continues to go up with the news of Jerry Jeudy going down. I mean, it doesn't seem like a season-ending injury, but he'll probably be missing time. And even if not, we've talked ad nauseum about Marvin Mims, how good he is even before Tim Patrick went down. Now Jerry Jeudy's going down. It's the Broncos, so somebody else will probably go down also in this offense. So draft him earlier. If you reach for him, he's definitely one of the guys you want to reach for more than anybody else.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, to your point, Jerry Jeudy, for the people who don't know, carted off the field. And we always say being carted off in training camp is much less serious, but he did have a hamstring injury. He should still be rehabbing it and getting back at the start of the season. So I do expect him to miss at least week 1, probably week 2 as well, especially for a player that relies so much on his speed and his change of direction. He needs to be 100% to be, effective. So yeah, I think draft with caution there. Marvin Mims' value goes up. Cortland Sutton's value, I think, does go up a bit. And we've seen Sean Payton offenses before suffer wide receiver injuries and stuff like that. And Sean Payton is not afraid to go to tight end. He's not afraid to pound the football. So, even more than Marvin Mims' value going up, I think we'll see Adam Troutman and Greg Dulcich on the field a lot together. I also think Javonte Williams is going to get fed the rock a lot right away. Samaje Perine a lot right away. So I expect, especially in a brand new offense that Russell Wilson's very clearly struggling to fully get, and that's not even a shot at him. It's a complex offense. I think they are going to go very run heavy to start the year. And Luke Reimer is normally on our show. He had talking about high school football. He had to go do that tonight. He is in the chat. But he is always down on the Broncos, but the news actually does make him love Marvin Mims. And not to be mean to Luke, but the fact that he loves Marvin Mims makes me pump the brakes a little bit. He's fine. Marvin Mims is a Big 12 receiver. So
watch out. He's going to be added to his list of guys.
Yeah, I know. Pick number 51 probably. So it's just pretty high praise, I would say. But yeah, Marvin Mims is a Big 12 guy. When he's open, he'll be good. He's not going to be open very often. I think he can develop into a good receiver, but rookie year, let's pause a little bit. Another big news, and a lot of people won't look at it as big news. I do. Josh Dobbs gets traded to the Cardinals, and that makes me worried about Kyler Murray, to be completely honest, especially on a day where they also ship a high potential, young, good defensive player out as well. I mean, I knew Kyler Murray wasn't going to rush back. I knew he was full of shit when he said he wants to be back by week 1. But now, like, I'm not confident he plays in the first month for sure. But I mean, that's kind of where I projected him anyway. But he's not going to be rushed back. There's no reason to. Like, he might not play this year. There's a serious chance of that actually happening.
And what did the Cardinals give up for Dobbs?
I think a 5th.
Like, I just don't understand the move from them either. Colt McCoy's been more than serviceable. You get a 7th for Justin Simmons, who is a fantastic defensive player, in my opinion. Then you give up a 5th for Josh Dobbs. I mean, no offense to Josh Dobbs, but come on now. What are we doing here? I mean, if you're going to tank correctly, at least. That 5th round pick is probably going to turn into basically a 4th round pick. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree with that. Obviously, I mean, I don't think they're convinced with Colt McCoy as much as I love him. I'm surprised not because of Colt McCoy. I'm surprised because they have Clayton Tune there. Obviously, he's a rookie. So it's not like you're bringing Josh Dobbs in to necessarily see what he can do, but you would be doing that with Clayton Tune at least. Dobbs, we know what he is, and I think he's competent enough to lead an offense. He's not a guy that I'm bringing in to, like, there's no reason to bring him in as a third quarterback like that. So that's why I feel like there's a plan, and I feel like there are, there's things that are having to take place right now, I guess,
Yeah, and like I don't see Dobbs as being that big of an upgrade over some of the free agent quarterbacks. I'm not saying he's worse or as good. I think he's probably better than 99% of the free agent quarterbacks, but worth spending a 5th round pick for him, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. They obviously have plenty of picks, but it's not a move that you would do for no reason, especially on a day that you're already making a move. So, yeah, something weird's happening in Arizona. Keep an eye on it. If you're a Kyler Murray dynasty owner, obviously you're not selling him for pennies, but I think you need to start looking into other options. If you play in a dynasty league with me and you have Kyler Murray, just know I do have Colt McCoy, and his price went up. Sorry about it. Like, I gave you the shot to get Colt McCoy, Brandon. I know you're listening, Brandon. You want Colt McCoy? You got to pay for him. So sorry about it. But that's enough about Colt McCoy. Maybe we'll get to him at some point. Let's talk about Saquon Barkley, because that's who we are drafting today. And before we jump into anything in terms of ADP, I just want to know, would you prefer to draft Saquon Barkley or Bijan Robinson? Because that's a pretty big choice for a lot of fantasy owners this year.
I think the whole ADP of early round running backs is weird to me. I would take Saquon over Bijan, but I think I'm taking Chubb over Saquon. And I know Saquon gets a lot more work in the passing game, but I mean, Nick Chubb, I mean, what can we not say about this guy that we haven't already? And I think Derrick Henry's right up there too. Again, I think Saquon's a little better than him, especially with the passing game. But again, I think he's right up there too. I don't know why Bijan's right below him instead of those other two guys.
I agree with that. And there's going to be a lot of leagues where owners are able to go Saquon and Nick Chubb, which is kind of crazy. But I also agree. I would have Saquon slightly ahead of Bijan. I think Bijan's a much better player than Saquon Barkley is, to be completely honest, already at this point in his career. That's my belief. I just don't trust that. Like, I know what Saquon Barkley's role is, and I feel like people are inflating Bijan Robinson's role. Just because, like, Tyler Algier is for sure going to touch the rock. People are acting like he doesn't exist.
Yeah, like Bijan Robinson is a great player, but I mean, we've kind of talked about it. Algier ran for 1,000 yards, and the thing is, like, even if they just had Cordero Patterson, not Algier, we don't know what his role is, to be completely honest. We haven't seen it. We've seen the role for everybody else at this position. So that's why I usually pump the brakes on guys like that.
I think that's completely fair. It'll be high risk, high reward. But we'll talk about that soon. Today we're talking about Saquon Barkley. He signed a new contract. Technically, I think he got $1 million more than the not salary cap, what the franchise tag. So, and Luke says no one's stealing Saquon Barkley's carries. I mean, except for the football gods who will probably hurt him. Saquon Barkley is a guy I will never, ever, ever draft, by the way. I'm not sure about you. I will never draft Saquon Barkley ever again. But for today, we will be drafting him at 8 in a 12-team PPR league. That means our next pick is 17, then 32, 41, etc. So after we pick Saquon Barkley at number 8, we come back around starting at 15 in the ADP is Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tony Pollard, Patrick Mahomes, Garrett Wilson, Derrick Henry, Josh Allen, Jalen Waddle. I think we both will probably say that it's too early to take a quarterback, so we're probably off Mahomes. But there's certainly some top options at wide receiver and running back. So who are you looking at?
I mean, I don't mind going running back, wide receiver at all. I think it can be a great strategy, but I'm not sold on Amon-Ra St. Brown as much as I'm sold on, and I've said this multiple times, Derrick Henry as an RB2. I mean, you kind of touched on it, Saquon and Chubb as possibility. Saquon and, Henry, you don't need to get a running back for 5-6 rounds, really. I mean, as long as they stay healthy, which is a big if, but Derrick Henry as the RB2, I think, is so much more powerful than Amon-Ra St. Brown or Garrett Wilson at the wide receiver 1.
I think that's completely fair. If Derrick Henry's there, I probably would pull the trigger. I think it's going to be very 50-50 if he actually does fall to us in the mock draft we do in a second. I feel the same about Amon-Ra, and I know you said it yesterday in terms of how many touchdowns will he actually score. I think that's super valid, especially with Detroit running the ball so much near the goal line. So I would value Garrett Wilson above Amon-Ra. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like if Derrick Henry's gone, I think I'm going Garrett Wilson. I feel like one of those two will drop.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of a little precursor for those who haven't watched. We love Najee Harris if he were to fall. I like ETN. I know you don't, but I would like him if he falls. There's no point in taking a running back like Pollard here. I'm not on him, so I definitely take a wide receiver if Henry's gone.
I completely agree. So then we would come back for pick number 32 in the 3rd round, starting at 30 in the 8. I'll start at 28 in the ADP just because I do feel like this player has dropped a lot. And I'm talking about Najee Harris. So Najee Harris is 28. Then Mark Andrews, T. Higgins, Travis Etienne, DK Metcalf, Joe Mixon, Calvin Ridley. I've done a bunch of mock drafts from this 8 spot. I've taken Najee Harris in a few. I have taken Calvin Ridley in a few. It's been mostly between those two for me. From what I've seen T. Higgins be gone off the board almost every time, I feel like. But if he's there, I would consider him as well. But what are your thoughts?
I think there are really only 2 guys that I think people should be completely off of at this spot, and that's Mark Andrews and DK Metcalf. And even, people probably won't reach for him, but Jahmyr Gibbs as well. We don't know Jahmyr Gibbs' role, so if you're taking Saquon 1 with his injury history, I don't know if that's super smart. Also, David Montgomery is there. And as for Mark Andrews, we've kind of talked about him a lot. He's a great player, but his role is going to go down. And then DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith and Jigba is there. He got hurt a little bit. He might not be going week 1. I haven't seen any updates, but even so, he's a big play guy, and I like Lockett more than him anyways. So I don't know why you would go for him in the 3rd round.
I agree with that. Is this a spot, if Jonathan Taylor fell to you at 32, would you pull the trigger on him or no?
As odd as it sounds, I would probably rather go Najee Harris if he was there. I'd take Jonathan Taylor over ETN and Joe Mixon, but I don't think there are many scenarios where that happens. I love Jonathan Taylor, but we're getting pretty close to the season now, and we're not seeing any changes at all.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like either I feel like if Jonathan Taylor does fall, I feel like Najee Harris is not there.
Yeah.
But if given the opportunity, I would go Harris. But I don't hate going Taylor here. Like, to me, from everything I've heard, what I am at least confident in is that he is going to play. I do feel relatively confident in that. So with that in mind, like if he goes, let's just say the media is right and he goes to the number one rumored spot, which is Miami. He's better than everybody there by a fucking mile. So you don't trade for him and not give him the ball as much as he would like to carry the ball. So at that rate, then at 32, I mean, that's probably a pretty good spot for him. Obviously, it's high risk, high reward. But I think I'm willing to start taking Jonathan Taylor in the third round.
Yeah, and I mean, he would work perfectly for that Miami offense. First of all, they should have taken him in the first place in the draft. They had 2 picks. They whiffed on him twice. But I mean, he would work perfectly here. Let's be honest, no matter what you think about the Miami running back room, it's not that great. They have talent, but overall, it's not great. He would be a perfect guy. I mean, play action would open up even more. I mean, anytime you can take the ball out of his hands and not get hit as much, that would be great too. You could slow it down with offense, play fast. Fantasy value is going to be there. So 32, if he goes to Miami, is a great deal.
I agree. If the Dolphins do trade for Jonathan Taylor and give him a contract right away, Christian Wilkins should never play football for that team again.
No.
Ever again. Like, people don't, he's not even, no one knows that he's holding out, I feel like. Like, no one has said anything.
Honestly, that's news to me right now.
Yeah.
Like, when I think of Miami, I think of A-Chain, Mostert, and Myles Gaskin. Like, when I think of Myles Gaskin over Christian Wilkins, that's a massive problem.
True. That is true. But yeah, so 32, we gave you some names. We do hope Najee Harris falls there. I think it's 50-50. I do think Calvin Ridley could be there. If Calvin Ridley is our wide receiver 2 or even wide receiver 1 at that value, I think you can work with it. But yeah, I think there's players available here, especially at the running back position. So you don't need to feel like you have to go RB, I think, even though you have a long wait. But then we have a relatively short wait coming around at 41, starting with 38 in the ADPs: Breece Hall, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Aaron Jones, Joe Burrow, Kenneth Walker, TJ Hawkinson, Justin Herbert, DeAndre Hopkins. And I didn't say his name, but in some mock drafts, I did see Jahmyr Gibbs fall there. I don't know how realistic it is, but if he's there, I do like him there. But what's your thoughts with those names? Does anybody stand out to you?
Honestly, I think this batch as a whole is one of the best batches. Like, this small batch, like 4 or 5 players, is one of the best in the draft in terms of, where you're drafting them at. And this is why you said earlier, I mean, you don't have to feel you have to go RB to start out. I mean, Aaron Jones would be a great option there. I'm not sold on Kenneth Walker, but if you're taking him as your RB2, you probably have 2 very good wide receivers. Amari Cooper was great last year. Keenan Allen, he's been great. Joe Burrow, you can get an elite quarterback and wait a little bit longer than the other guys. Hawkins and Zare is a great tight end. DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, the opportunities are endless here. So it really opens up for you here.
I agree, and it's fully a best available spot for me. Like, no matter who I have on my team at this point, whoever you think is going to have the best fantasy season, I think you take that player. And there's plenty of value after that. We come back around at 56. We'll talk about 56 and 65. Then we'll actually do a live draft here. But starting at 50 in the ADP is DJ Moore, Jerry Jeudy, who just got hurt, Miles Sanders, Christian Watson, George Kittle, Trevor Lawrence, J.K. Dobbins, Drake London, Cam Akers, Alexander Madison. If Jerry Jeudy falls because of this injury to this spot, would you take him as your wide receiver 2 or no?
No, I wouldn't. And I don't think that has anything to do with the injuries. I think there are just a lot of question marks in Denver. And I look at guys like George Kittle. Obviously, injuries are a concern, but I love him. Drake London here, especially with how many wide receivers you've probably already taken. I like him here too. I just think there are a lot of better options that, are not only healthy, but we know what their role is too.
I think that's fair. So is there a name that did stand out to you when I read it?
I'd probably actually, oddly enough, say Kittle. Usually I wouldn't take a tight end here. I think this is a weird spot to take him, but like we've said, I think there aren't going to be many drafts where you're top heavy on one position coming into this round. I think you probably have 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers at this point. If you don't have 2 of one, you're going to be waiting anyways. So I think it's okay to get a tight end here a little earlier than usual.
Do you like Kittle or Darren Waller more?
I like Kittle. Darren Waller, I know why he's there. I know how good he can be. I'm just a little off on him, especially after last year. I know that was a lot of injuries, but man, with his injury history and now that turf field, I know they redid it, but I'm not trusting that at all.
I say that just because he was just below the group of names I read. And I feel like if you want Darren Waller as your tight end, this would be the spot where you have to take him. And I'm not fully decided between Kittle and Waller. Obviously, both of those guys have missed plenty of games. Both of those guys have been relatively dominant when they've been on the field. So it kind of is a toss-up. My rankings and the entire fantasy football draft kit by us will be out on Monday. And my decision will be made in that. We'll be doing a bunch of ranking shows. I feel like I'm leaning Waller right now, but they're very close for me. I like them both.
Well, and Waller's a weird guy. Like, I think he's the only guy within 20 picks here that is not going to drop in your drafts. Like, I don't see a way. Like, Kittle, people are going to talk about the injuries. I know Waller has them, but, like, I don't see anybody being like, oh, I'll wait on Waller. Like, that's not going to happen.
No, like, yeah, Waller, I feel like, is projected at his floor right now. And there's plenty of people who view him as the wide receiver 1 for the Giants, which he kind of is. So, I mean, if he has a 1,100-yard year with 7 touchdowns, I mean, he's going to be fucking awesome. But will he stay healthy? Who the hell knows? But yeah, so I do like Kittle here or Waller. If you are hurting at wide receiver to this point, I like Drake London a fair amount. I think I prefer him to Christian Watson. I like Mike Williams, who's just under the names I read. I think Drake London and Mike Williams would be my wide receiver picks. But running back wise, I'm not doing Cam Akers. I'm willing to go Madison. I like Miles Sanders if he falls. That's where my mind's at. I wouldn't go Jerry Jeudy, I don't think. I don't know. I'm not a Jeudy guy. Haven't been to this point, and then now the hamstring injury, it's enough to scare me. But then 65, our 6th-round pick will be the last one we talk through. So then we'll start at Waller at 62. So 62 is Waller. Then it's Dalvin Cook, Rashad White, Brandon Ayuk, Christian Kirk, James Conner, Tyler Lockett. Which name do you like out of that group?
I actually like James Conner the most. I don't think he's going to make it through the season. And overall, I don't think he's a great player here. But I mean, we're talking until he gets hurt, probably the first 5 weeks, he's going to be the best flex value in your entire league. And if you're here, you probably have a pretty even team. And so you can use a 6th-round pick. Like, who cares if he lasts 6 weeks? There's a very good chance he picks you up 2 wins in those weeks alone. And that's the difference between, 1 seed in the 4 or playoffs or not.
I think that's fair. In terms of comparing to the other running backs, DeAndre Swift is in this group. He might be the 3rd running back to see carries, which you don't like to see. Alvin Kamara is just below it. He's suspended and also doesn't score touchdowns. Rashad White, I'm getting lower on by the day. He's just not a 3-down guy. He just can't see a massive workload. So even the rookie there is going to split time with him, it looks like. And then Dalvin Cook obviously has a natural split with Breece Hall. But if we did somehow grab Breece Hall earlier, I don't hate grabbing Dalvin Cook here just to lock up that backfield just in case somebody goes down,
Yeah.
Randy just said Bray Wyatt died. Is that actually true?
Let me search this up. Let me do some research online.
If so, that fucking sucks. Also, he's a Packer fan. So
Yeah, he is dead.
wow. Does it say how?
1 hour ago.
Jesus, Randy with the breaking news. So
Triple H announced it Thursday.
what the fuck?
Unexpectedly passed. Oh, report surfaced earlier this month that the former champion was nearing a return to the ring after battling a life-threatening illness. So maybe
Wow.
that came back. Who knows?
Weird. Well, yeah, I did not know that, Randy, but actually thank you for saying I died of a heart attack, Randy said.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That
Well, that would make
sucks.
sense.
It sure would. No, did not know that, but that is a bummer
And it
for
tells you a
sure.
lot that I know who he is, and I don't watch it at all. So,
That's true. That is a good point. But let's jump into a mock draft here to wrap up the show. We will be doing it on Sleeper, so the ADPs over there are a little different. I think it's a little bit more realistic until we get to the later rounds of the draft where people start taking defenses, obviously, right away. But we are drafting 8th. The 7 players we have talked about to this point, 6, and then Cooper Kupp, I'll have a video out tomorrow for. That's the order. We are going to go Saquon Barkley at 8. I think you could get him 10, even 11, depending on the people in your league, but we will grab him at 8 and challenge ourselves a little bit. We shall see who drops. Nick Chubb did not, and Derrick Henry did not. That sucks. So are you thinking Garrett Wilson then? Because I know you like him above Amon-Ra, or would you rather go with Josh Jacobs?
I'm going Garrett Wilson here. I don't mind Josh Jacobs, but he just doesn't do it for me.
I think that's fair. And I mean, we saw the running backs that probably will fall.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't mind that. Jonathan Taylor, the pick immediately after. That's very interesting. If you are listening to the audio podcast, definitely go to the Flurry Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe, obviously. We're about to get to 10K over there. Luke, just join when you're at home. Don't do it on their phone. It's terrible. So with the board here, there's a bunch of running backs at the top, and I would say, I mean, I know you like ETN. Jahmyr Gibbs kind of stands out to me. And Breece Hall's there too. There's a lot of good running backs here. What's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough place for me. I mean, I can see the love with Stevenson. I mean, I can see the love with everything. I'm going to be honest. If I got this in the draft, I'd be handcuffed. I don't know where I'd want to go because I'm not exactly sold on anybody.
Mhm.
And I mean, if Dalvin Cook wasn't in the Jets, I mean, you take Breece Hall, you don't even ask questions. But I truly don't know who I would go here.
If we do go Stevenson, there's a chance a Gibbs falls if we would prefer to go him over like a Debo or Calvin Ridley. I don't know what your thoughts are there. But I think there's a chance we could get 2 very good running backs here back to back.
Yeah,
What do you
I
think
mean,
about that?
I'd probably lean Stevenson. Yeah, I'd probably lean Stevenson. I'm happy about it, but I'm not happy about it. Just because sometimes you have a plan in place, and when it doesn't work, it sucks.
Yeah.
But Stevenson as a 2, and to your point, maybe another running back comes back. If you have about the same running back at 2 and 3, I think you're good with that.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson picked right before us, by the way. Kind of a weird one. But yeah, let's go Stevenson. That is, I wasn't expecting to see him there. But all these running backs are going now. But Calvin Ridley still on the board. Keenan Allen,
Shout
Aaron
out Team
Jones, Kenneth
10.
Walker. Yeah, for sure. Just reading the chat. So what's your thoughts then? Again, really good players. I think players you can trust as starters for the most part. I think I'm leaning wide receiver, but I don't know. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm the same way too. I mean, I'd love to have Aaron Jones as a 3, but it's pretty rare, in my opinion, in this draft. You can get 2 good running backs and wide receivers in the first 4 picks. The draft just doesn't shake up that way. So I'm looking at Ridley Allen. I'd lean Allen because of his consistency in years past, and Ridley has been out a year. But I won't fault anybody for taking Ridley.
We'll go Allen. I think I would lean Ridley. I'm just not trusting Allen's body at this point in his career,
That's
but
fair.
we shall see. I think the Chargers aren't trusting his body either. I think that's more so the issue. I think they're going to be very willing to give him less snaps this year. But now round 5 and Luke's here. So Randy, don't worry about it. Luke is here. So Darren Waller's on the board. We could continue our very balanced lineup and go Darren Waller. Or do you like one of the running backs here? Or wide receivers, I suppose.
This is one of the few scenarios where I would actually go Waller. You have a good base, a running back and wide receiver. That makes me comfortable going tight end. I don't think if you get a third running back, third wide receiver, and they're decent, that's fine. But I think getting a very good tight end will put you over the top more than any of those other guys.
What's your thoughts, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that logic based on the team we have here. Like, I think if you're in a spot where, you don't have any, like, pressing needs, like obviously quarterback's not a huge need right now, right? I think it's best player available. But if you want to fill a spot tight end, I don't hate going to Darren Waller at all.
Yeah, I feel like I'm feeling Darren Waller. I feel like we could get another good running back with the next pick if we wanted to.
I do like, if you feel like really good about your picks. I know you guys were talking about like Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry right away, and then adding someone else. Like, I don't hate taking Christian Watson as a gamble here if you're really confident in your team.
I don't know what's his ceiling. I don't know. I think we saw Christian Watson's ceiling last year,
and I don't know what his floor is either. To be completely honest with you.
Well, that's what I'm like. I don't know what the gamble with Christian Watson. Like, I don't know what the best scenario for Christian Watson is this year. And I know you like him. So honestly, tell me what you think the best scenario for him this year is.
Well, obviously, right, the best scenario for Christian Watson is that Jordan Love's a great quarterback and Christian Watson, is the number one receiver, finishes with 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. Obviously, that's probably not going to happen, right? But I think if you're in a situation like if you can afford it, if you want to take a gamble, if you can afford to take a gamble, like it's possible that Christian Watson finishes with 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns. It's also very possible he finishes with 600 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think it's a fun pick here. I'm not saying to do it. If you go look at my guy's post, I said probably not draft here, but it could be fun.
I mean, yeah, it's a gamble. I don't think the Packers offense is built for a receiver like that. Like, I just don't see.
I don't disagree.
I truly don't see a scenario, but we'll see. I mean, Matt LaFleur said he's the smartest player he's ever been around, so, which was an interesting shot at Aaron Rodgers, I would say. But we did go Darren Waller then with the 5th pick, 6th pick now. Again, there's a lot of running backs here. Just reading down the list, we got Dallas Goedert, Brandon Ayuk, Cam Akers, James Conner. But Dalvin Cook is also there if we wanted to go running back. If we wanted to reach, there's still Javonte Williams, who may not fall to the next pick. Obviously, we've talked about him a bunch. What's your guys' thoughts here?
For me, I'm going either James Conner or Mike Evans. I know Mike Evans is a little bit of a reach, but I mean, he's legitimately been the most consistent wide receiver in the league. I know his quarterback play is a little down, but I still believe in Baker Mayfield more than most people. And as for James Conner, I mean, say what you want about him, but he's your RB3 in this point. He's a flex. He is more than capable of doing that for at least the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that logic. I'll say back to our show yesterday, I don't love having Cardinals on the team, but if there's a Cardinal to have, it's James Conner. You guys don't like him. My pick would be Cam Akers here. I'm still on the train that, like, the Rams were leading in, running back touches from the goal line before the whole Cam Akers situation happened last year. I mean, Stafford and Kupp are back. Like, I think the Rams will be fine, but I totally understand having questions about Cam Akers.
Yeah, I mean, Sean McVay, without a doubt, wants to run the ball when he gets in the red zone.
Yeah,
I don't think Cam Akers does. So, like, if you ask Cam Akers what they should do, he's probably like, pass or run with me off the field. Like, I just don't think he likes football. Plain and simple. I don't think so.
He kind of reminds me of what people thought Anthony Edwards was going to be coming into the league. people question like how much you really like to play basketball, it seems like Cam Akers at this point.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, he could be great. He could be great. There really hasn't been news about Zach Evans, which I thought's weird because I really think he's good. They haven't. I mean, the Rams have shown nothing. This is typical Sean McVay, but they have shown nothing this preseason. I don't expect them to show anything this week. So we are guessing. We have to go based on what we've seen in the past. And I do think Cam Akers is going to see a massive workload right away. I don't know what he does with it. Like, so if I'm banking on one of the players, I think I have to bank on the one who has done it, which would be James Conner. Again, I mean, we talked about it, and we'll probably have a show again before the season starts. James Conner is going to be one of my highest sell high guys at some point. Like, I don't want James Conner on my team in week 6 whatsoever. I don't know who they play. Just stating a day. Javonte Williams is still on the board if we want to go for an RB4. Otherwise, wide receivers have plenty of question marks. There's Jackson Smith and Jigba, Deontay Johnson, Jordan Addison.
I would go to Deshaun Watson here.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson. I mean, Dak Prescott's here as well if we want to go quarterback. And Tua. I think the order they're in is kind of my order. And then tight end we don't need. But so Luke, your vote is Deshaun?
My vote is Deshaun.
Trevor?
My vote is Deontay Johnson. I don't love him a whole lot, but I think as your wide receiver 3, you can do worse. He has guaranteed receptions. Touchdowns he's not going to give you a ton of, but at your wide receiver 3, I don't think you really need that. So I'd go him here, but I can also see the definitely valid argument to go quarterback, whether it's Deshaun or Dak.
I would say George Pickens here if he wasn't picked one ahead of us, but Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, this is a weird pick for me. To your point with Deontay Johnson, I think he does have a pretty steady floor. So as a wide receiver 3, I don't hate it. For quarterback, again, my pick would be Dak, but Deshaun Watson's fine. I don't know, like, what I would honestly do in this draft. If it were me, I would for sure gamble that one of those 2 quarterbacks falls to the next pick.
Sure.
And that's probably not going to happen with auto draft, but that would be what I honestly do. But for today, we can just go to Sean, just because I don't know what quarterback we would get later. It depends on what you think of Anthony Richardson. I think we could get him with that pick.
I'd turn a corner. I'm all in on Anthony Richardson.
Okay, so would you rather get Anthony Richardson later, though?
Yeah, probably, now that we're talking it out. I think I like Anthony Richardson more than Deshaun Watson this year.
I would too. I think his floor is better, and he plays in the weakest frickin' division there is.
True. Okay, so if we're taking quarterback off the board, then do we want to go with the running back we like but we may not need with Javonte Williams, or do we want to go wide receiver?
I love Javonte more than anybody else, but I think shore up the wide receiver here. That's my personal philosophy on it.
I mean, I agree. Like, shore up the wide receiver. I just hate all these receivers that are on the board.
I do too. So what would your pick be then, though, Luke?
I mean, probably Deontay Johnson. I'm probably with Trevor. Probably Deontay Johnson or Javonte Williams, but I'm not feeling good about either one of those players.
Okay, we'll go to Deontay Johnson just to fill that wide receiver 3 spot. If I stick to my guns with what I've been saying this entire series, and what I would do is I would go best available, and I would go Javonte Williams because I think he's the top on my board by a fair amount. But we'll go Deontay Johnson here.
I'm also very different on Javonte Williams than you guys.
Correct. Okay. So.
Oh no, Tony went.
Fuck.
Oh no. So Jahan Dotson's the best on the board for wide receivers. There's still Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas who should be contributors lower. We also could go Quentin Johnston if we want to have a little bit of an insurance policy if Keenan Allen gets hurt. Otherwise, running backs are A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson. Neither inspire a ton of confidence. So what's your guys' thoughts?
This part of the board sucks. I'll say it. I've hate this pick. I hated our last pick. I don't like drafting here. I hope I don't get 8th overall is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, I actually like 8th overall. I think hindsight being 2020, and I should have seen this with the mock draft and auto draft. I think there's a much higher difference between Javonte and the rest of the running backs than Deontay and like a Jahan Dotson.
For sure.
So hindsight being 2020, not really looking to the future. Javonte Williams is probably the pick, and then take wide receiver here. But in this position that we are, I'd probably lean to go Brian Robinson or Antonio Gibson, but I'm not happy about it, to Luke's point.
I think that what we're experiencing is why I preach so much about creating your own tiers. So again, Monday, our free draft kit will be available. Fantasy Football by Committee Facebook group. We will have it there. We'll also have shows and link to it. You can have a free draft kit, and I'll create my own tiers. But I do think you should create your own tiers, just because if we're looking at that last pick and you have Deontay Johnson in the same tier as Deontay Johnson in the same tier as Jahan Dotson, you would be like, oh, they're the same player to me. Mm-hmm. And that's the purpose of it. Whereas Javonte Williams, I assume, is in a different tier than AJ Dillon for everybody. You know. Oh, yeah. So who was your vote, Luke? I remember Trevor's.
I mean, I'll throw a vote in for, throw a dart at one of the Washington running backs here.
Okay, I prefer Gibson. I think he's a good player, assuming they use him correctly, which they should.
I don't absolutely despise Jahan Dotson by any means, but I'm cool with what we did.
I think he's good. It just pisses me off. A lot of two quarterbacks there, but a lot of fantasy analysts are talking about how he's the massive sleeper, and
I wouldn't call him sleeper. I think Sam Hall is better than people think, but I wouldn't call any of those receivers sleepers by any means.
No, well, that, and I mean, stop trying to think you found something in him. Okay, so pick number 9. Great. I just did what we talked about before. We got Anthony Richardson as our quarterback. So now pick 10, a pretty balanced board. I'll take the quarterbacks off of it, though.
Go for it. Just to look ahead to future picks, like, I don't hate taking another quarterback in the future, too, in this draft.
I agree. I mean, what I've been doing, 12 teams not very big, so I don't think you need to spend a worthwhile pick. So even though I started the show off saying Kyler Murray's making me nervous, like, he's my favorite last round pick right now, across the board, just because you can put him on IR immediately.
Right. Yeah. My whole thinking is it is expected for Anthony Richardson to struggle at times, right? So if you get games where it's like you're only getting 10 points for like 3 straight games, then that's my only reasoning.
Yeah, for sure. So then the board is pretty balanced. We got Zach Charbonnet. I won't read the tight ends because who cares? So Charbonnet, we got Cortland Sutton, who obviously rises in value right now. 8 Chain, Jerick McKinnon, Adam Thielen, Jamison Williams, Chig Okonkwo, Sky Moore, Ezekiel Elliott. What's your guys' thoughts?
I'm going Cortland Sutton here. I like him. I think we've seen this Broncos wide receiver room. It's already down bodies. And who knows if Jerry Jeudy comes back 100%. Hamstrings are difficult. I mean, it's very likely he re-aggravates it somehow. A lot of questions there, and I think he's above the running backs at that position. So I'd go either him or Adam Thielen here.
Yeah, I like Thielen more than Sutton. I think there's I guess maybe not now that Judy's hurt. But I don't know. Adam Thielen has done it. I've seen it before out of Adam Thielen. You've kind of seen it out of Cortland Sutton, but there's still those question marks. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure us 3 being Packer fans, we know what Adam Thielen is. There's not many question marks there. I guess the question mark is Bryce Young, but I think I don't know how much that affects Adam Thielen given how good and how experienced he is in the NFL. So I'm with him. Another fun one that I've done some soul searching on is Devon Achane, because that guy is fast and that could be very fun, but don't draft him.
Thank you.
But I kind of want to.
I mean, no.
I the draft board, Luke.
No, I totally agree with you guys, but there's something.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I might.
There's no point. For wide receivers, Cortland Sutton's the top on the board for me. I also don't hate going Ezekiel Elliott since we drafted Ramondre Stevenson. So that would be my top running back by quite a bit, and he might be my top player. But we'll go Cortland Sutton since we only have 3 wide receivers. Now we have 4. So now I think truly everything's available to us. Kickers, defenses are starting to go.
Give us Elliott.
Okay. Yeah. So sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think he's probably Zeke's going to rise at the end of the summer here.
People are going to reach for Zeke too.
Mm-hmm.
You would think so. To me, he feels like a 10th round guy.
I mean, I'm sure everyone like not like the big time fantasy people, but like the average fantasy person thinks that they have a steal with Ezekiel Elliott on the Patriots. They're going to reach for him.
But I mean, there's always a 10th round pick I absolutely love every year. Last couple of years, it's been Jamal Williams. This year, I feel like it's going to be a Zeke for me.
Right.
It just makes too much sense. Board very similar in the 11th round here. We got Sky Moore, Rashad Bateman, Higbee, Damian Harris, Elijah Mitchell, Jacoby Myers, Tyler Boyd, Tyler Algier, Rashee Rice, Tank Bigsby. Anybody stand out?
I'm going Rashad Bateman here.
Okay.
I am too. I mean, the team looks pretty safe for the most part. It's time to... He's not really a flyer either because we know what he can be. Like he's like a lottery ticket that you know the ceiling of. So I think he's a great pick here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If he stays healthy, we'll finally get the Rashad Bateman that's been hyped up. And if he doesn't stay healthy, then we invested a 12th round pick in him. Who cares?
Yeah, we lost out on Younghoe Koo. Oh, no.
That could bite us. Okay. 13th round pick. Again, we're drafting August 24th. There's a bunch of defenses that were already taken. I'm not being the last person to take a defense. So if this was me right now, I'm not drafting a defense. I never draft a kicker. So we have 3 picks remaining, and they will all be real players.
I like Tank Bigsby here. I think I obviously love Tyler Algier, but I think I don't know, something about him and Jacksonville's offense. I think he has, as wild as it is for me to say and I have nothing to base it on, I think he might have a clearer role than Tyler Algier here.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know my thoughts on Tank Bigsby. I'm with him.
Okay, I think they're both the same exact thing for me. Just because I'm not playing either of them until the starter gets hurt.
Correct.
If the starter gets hurt, then they're good. So I'm more willing to bet on ETN getting hurt. So I'm cool with Tank Bigsby.
Tank Bigsby is more fun than Elijah Mitchell too.
Well, it wasn't Mitchell, it was Algier.
I'm sorry, is more fun than Tyler Algier.
Also true. Both true, probably. Okay, so the board, Rondale Moore's here. I like him. Otherwise, Deontay Foreman, Jalen Warren, Jonathan Mingo, Nico Collins. If you did want to go quarterback, we still could go a Bryce Young, Derek Carr, Brock Purdy, or we probably could wait until the last round to grab Kyler Murray.
Looking at these quarterbacks, I retract what I said earlier. I think you don't even need to draft a second quarterback. You can get one on the waivers.
Right, and there was a lot of teams that drafted 2.
Right.
So in a normal draft, I think there's going to be even more on waivers.
Yeah, for me here, I think the move is Warren or Rondale Moore. I'm high on Rondale Moore too. Obviously, Luke, you've said it multiple times, don't like to have a lot of Cardinals, but I mean, in the 14th round, you're out literally nothing. And Jalen Warren, as you've said, Zach, has an every week role. So even if Najee doesn't get hurt, he has something there at least.
That's true.
Yep. I agree.
And I mean, with Rondale, honestly, he might not be a Cardinal. Like with the way that they're selling everybody that's young with potential that doesn't have a connection to this regime. Rondale Moore is a very good player, and I could see a team trading for him. So I don't hate it. And if he stays healthy, he's going to be good regardless. But yeah. So last round, coming back around, we could go Kyler Murray and then just put him on IR and pick up somebody. We could just draft the player that we would plan to pick up after drafting Kyler Murray. So who do you guys think for that player?
How many wide receivers we have, by the way?
3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty balanced. We're 6 and 6.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'd go Kareem Hunt here. Usually I'd go Mingo, but I mean, we have 6 wide receivers. And we already have a Carolina wide receiver, so I think Kareem Hunt's he's a heck of a lottery ticket here.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a player that you will end up dropping for a defense or kicker. And if Kareem Hunt vaults up in value so much that you question if you can drop him, then you're in good shape.
Yep, it's a good problem to have.
Right. So top to bottom, the championship team surrounding Saquon Barkley at pick number 8 in a 12-team PPR league. We have Anthony Richardson, Saquon Barkley, Ramondre Stevenson, Garrett Wilson, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Darren Waller, James Conner. And then on the bench, we have Antonio Gibson, Cortland Sutton, Ezekiel Elliott, Rashad Bateman, Tank Bigsby, Rondale Moore, and Kareem Hunt. I don't mind it. And I feel like it's a pretty clear 2 players that you probably will be able to cut to for your defense and kicker, which is also kind of nice.
Yeah, I think it's a very good floor team. I don't if you look at this team, obviously anything can happen, but looking at this team, I don't see a season where it goes worse than 500. And you're probably going to win a game or 2 that you shouldn't, quote unquote. So I think this is one of the most stable teams in terms of getting into the playoffs, most likely overall.
Yeah. And honestly, week 4, trade James Conner and Keenan Allen for a wide receiver 1.
Oh yeah.
Then you'll be cooking. That's what I would be looking to do. That would be like an alert I set on my phone prior to week 1, which I have plenty of those. I suggest that's another tip for you guys at home. Don't forget about all of these good thoughts. We have all of these good thoughts in the preseason, and I feel like we forget. So I've been setting alarms, and it's very useful. It worked last year. Anything else we want to talk about before we get out of here?
R.I.P. Bray Wyatt, man. That's
who
kind of crazy.
That?
He's a wrestler.
Like a big time guy?
Yeah, pretty big. Like Luke, I don't watch it, and I know who he is. I've seen multiple clips of him. WWE. How old? 36.
No. How, in terms of like notableness, is that a word? I don't know if that's a word. How does he rank in comparison to John Cena?
Well, John Cena is like one of the biggest.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just trying to understand.
I mean, way lower, but he's still one of the biggest stars.
Okay, that's what I.
John Cena's just like probably the 3rd biggest wrestler of all time.
Yes, my point being, I don't know how many good, incredible wrestlers all time there are.
Fair, yeah. Bray Wyatt's a big name.
Okay.
Big name. So.
Would you say Bray Wyatt's like a Julius Randle of the NBA, like a big name? Not the biggest name, but he's definitely up there.
I think that's fair. Yeah. He was certainly bigger a couple years ago. So,
okay. Yeah. A couple years ago, he would have been like All-Star game. What's his name? I can't remember. The one NBA player that made an All-Star game.
Jeremy Lin.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I would argue. Yeah, probably. He was a Jeremy Lin.
He's that Jeremy Lin. He has lasting power.
He was Linsanity Jeremy Lin.
Maybe.
3 days of being a good athlete?
No, that's what I'm saying. Bray Wyatt, not a flash in the pan. Jeremy Lin. I mean, Jeremy Lin's not a flash in the pan in China, I guess.
Jeremy Lin does have 2 titles, though. I think 2. He's got at least 1.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
And you can get your own title at TrophySmack.com, by the way. Get a fantasy football title, very customizable, or trophy, or ring, or champ chain, or a million things. You can get a loser trophy as well. Use promo code Flurry to get a discount. You can also get a free championship ring when you buy a trophy. That's a $60 value when you use promo code Flurry, FLURRY. It gets you something for free, and it helps out the show. So please go do that. That is my pitch to you, as well as subscribing, rating us 5 stars. You know the drill. And tomorrow I will be back to do Cooper Kupp. And we are coming down the home stretch of these first round guys. And then we will be back to some other fantasy draft strategies. So if there's specific shows, specific strategies that you want us to talk through, topics that you want to see covered, let us know. And obviously the best place to let us know is the Fantasy Football by Committee Facebook group. So join there. If you tell us the stuff you want to see, we'll show you. We'll be there. We'll do it. Trevor, what do you got?
And remember, if you subscribe when we get to 10,000, the goons are a-flying. So be on the lookout for that.
I know. I told Jake last night we're dangerously close, so he actually has to, do what he says this time. And he seemed positive. He seemed about it. So I think he threw out a number, thought we weren't going to hit it. I said we would do it before football season, and look at us now. Look at us now. We're flourishing. We will be at 10K before football season, and then fuck it. Let's go to at least 12.5 by the end of football season. That's the next goal.
20.
That's the next.
Okay, 15. Let's put it at 15.
Okay, 15's fine. 15's good. But for us to hit 15K, you got to help us out. You got to subscribe. Share it with your friends. Share it with your enemies. If you want, this is actually, I'm not sure if anyone does this. We could create fake fantasy football strategy videos for you to share with your enemies.
Oh,
that would be fun.
I'm not sure if anyone does. I mean, you could argue ESPN has built an empire off of it.
They sure have.
But we know nobody can argue useless stats to hype up a player more than the Flurry Sports gang.
We should have a stats show that
Dude,
you can't make a point unless you have a stat for it.
Fucking Matt Berry made a career doing this.
Yeah. Yeah, he still doesn't know fucking shit about football. But boy, he's entertaining.
I wanted to provide a little explanation. Everyone go to Fantasy Football by Committee on Facebook, join our group, Open Fantasy Football Forum. We love talking to everyone. We want your questions. We'll give you our questions. We'll throw advice all around. I just wanted to give a little explanation on my guys list.
Go for it.
If you're in that group, you've noticed that I have put in a Luke's guys list. There's probably about 75 names in there. That's not, I don't want every single one of those. Well, of course I want every single one of those players on one team, but those are the players where if I draft them, I'm like, yeah, I feel good after that.
The draft.
That's just a comprehensive list of everyone, not a team.
And
okay.
And also one of the things that I want to say, the Fantasy Football by Committee Facebook, like, we're not going to sit here and be like, oh, we'll help you out. We're throwing our questions in there too. Right. Like, this isn't a one-sided thing either. So definitely going to check it out. We're not putting ourselves on any pedestal here.
I might turn that into an annual thing. This was Luke's first annual My Guys list. I
have a feeling you're just going to add to it, though.
Well, no.
Like next year, the top 120. I feel good about these guys.
No, that's not my point. My point being, if I get a Jamar Chase, I want Jamar Chase ahead of Justin Jefferson. I put that in my head now. If I can't get Jamar Chase, then my next one is I don't know, Austin Eckler, whoever I have on there. It's kind of like Brian Gutekunst's draft strategy.
Ooh, bad comparison. You had me until
that's something we can be going out on, Luke.
Yeah, that was it. It's a lot of people there.
Yeah, that's how many guys I like.
I think it shows how positive of a person you are, and I like that. My guys list would be like, man,
10.
Still love Jamal Williams. Like that would be number one.
Jamal Williams is not on my list.
I know.
On my guys list.
Yeah, probably not for me this year either. But
I do have to edit it because I forgot to put Cam Akers in there. So that's what's going to be happening after the show.
I was looking. I thought I didn't see George Pickens at first. I'm like, oh no.
Oh, he's in there. Don't worry.
He is in there. I found him eventually. Yep. There's just so many to sort through.
Him
like
and
I found
Tony
him
are right there together.
Man, I'm happy that you still have faith in Kadarius Toney.
A ton of faith.
Do we need to have like a guarantees show before the season? Do you think?
Oh yes. 100%. We just got to come with 5
things. Think about that one. 5.
Yep.
Okay.
Just remind me because I'm going to forget.
A call to action to the people. We need stakes for this. We'll give whatever we want. We'll do it during the season. We're going to give guarantees. I want stakes for whatever, for the winner or the loser.
You and Luke?
Oh, yeah, we could.
Because remember, I don't get any because I was rude.
Correct.
Oh, right. Wait, no. I do get them, but they go to one. They go, ooh, what if the pull tabs go to a viewer? A random viewer.
No.
If I win. only mine, not yours.
I want Trevor's money, too.
No, you don't get it.
I mean, that's interesting because you would very quickly become the fan favorite every week. And Luke and I would just be at just the heels of the show. Obviously, people would not want to see us succeed, that's when I thrive.
That could be
me
fun.
too.
Yeah, let us know if you want to see that.
Yeah, we could do pull tabs. I do like the idea of a big end of season something too, though. So just give us ideas or a punishment or something. Give us something.
Well, maybe not punishments. I don't like punishments. I like rewards more than punishments. I know it's a hot take, but
that is a hot take. That's spicy. So let's go out on that. Let's leave everyone thinking about that. We'll be back tomorrow. I will be doing a draft team around Cooper Kupp. So you'll hear my thoughts about the Los Angeles Rams wide receiver. Spoiler alert, I like him a lot. But see you then.